Hey guys, it's Misty Buck from Miss Inc. Digital Marketing, and we are here with another Marketing Monday. And I don't know about you guys, but it's October. I am super excited. I cannot believe that we're in the third quarter, or the fourth quarter, excuse me. See, I can't even pick up that fast of the year. But I want to introduce you guys today to a really special guest. So each week, we talk about different topics in marketing and different things that can help you, the average business owner, out with your business by sort of demystifying all of these different parts of marketing. So today I brought on one of my really good friends and somebody whom I really admire. Her name is Maya Rodriguez. She's with Maya's Healing Place, and she also has a background in publishing, and marketing. So she's going to talk about that, and she actually published a book and does all kinds of really cool things. So we're going to talk about that today, to sort of look into the world of publishing and print, direct mailing, all that kind of stuff, and give you some really good tips about that. I think she's really awesome. We're actually going to do things a little bit different today as well. We're going to tie in some parts of energy, and talk about energy marketing as well. So if you don't know what that is, stay tuned because you're going to find out. So I'm going to let Maya go ahead and introduce herself. Welcome, Maya.
Hello. Thank you so much, Misty, for having me. Thank you so much. I am just it's an honor to be with you, and I adore you. So thank you for being here. Thank you, guys. Yes, I'm really excited because it's like my life has been an array of a bunch of things happening at the same time, to be able to learn and actually share my knowledge. So with a lot of printing background, I've been in the printing business for probably my whole life, since I was 21, and hence use the knowledge to publish my own book, to also understand what are the key elements of marketing, digital marketing, printing marketing, how to brand, and hence why I opened my own place as well, which is called Maya's Healing Place, and use all those tools to effectively really market with a certain sense of energy, like we talked about, and love, and involved in it, how that energy can translate into the marketing, because we can try different methods. If it's not resonating with a certain energy and love, people can actually not necessarily resonate with you. So it's really important to use all those technical terms versus just following the checklist of any marketer, right? So having published my own book as well, a lot of learning things that we went through as well. But it was a beautiful process, so I'd like to share with everybody else if they're interested in that. So thank you. I appreciate being here.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for being here again. And so we're going to kick off with just some questions about publishing and printing in general, and then we can get a little bit into your book, because I've always been really fascinated about your journey to self-publishing. And if you don't know, she's going to talk about her book, but she actually, because of her, I was inspired to self-publish my book, which came out earlier this year, and that's all because of my inspiration from Maya, and for her help in helping me learn the ropes of self-publishing. So we will get into that, but before we do, let's talk about, I'm an average business owner. I'm looking into my marketing budget. What are the different print tools that are available to me?
Right. So I really am happy that you mentioned that, because first and foremost, I feel that people really put that on the back burner. Marketing, it is, the number one thing that we need in order to really portray that. And that money and investment and time put into that is what's going to pay off later. If people don't know your brand, like the biggest thing is that how are you going to portray your brand, and your brand being everywhere? If people don't know about it, they're not talking about it, they're not going to even have a will to go for it, right? So a lot has to do with having a specific logo and your colors being intact and being placed out there. So when people, very simple, when people see the golden arches, right? McDonald's. I mean, people in Zimbabwe know what McDonald's is. So it's really understanding and having a color scheme out there. So mine is Maya's Healing Place, right? There's a tree, there's Maya on top of it, and people know the name Maya. And sometimes they don't even know what I do, but they're like, okay, she can help me with, a lot of different things. Let's go to Maya. And then they're just attracted naturally to go in there and research further. So a lot of times that we can use in marketing is, like you mentioned, the printing, which a lot of people don't understand some of the tools that are available. Like, for example, one of the, there's many, but one of the tools is every direct door mailing. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
No.
So every direct door mailing is actually a service that the U.S. Post Office is giving, which is that it actually, for half of the price of the postage, you can actually blanket mail a certain zip code and carrier routes with your message. And you don't have to specifically buy a list, which costs a fortune. You don't have to spend 40, 70 or cents each for each postage, right, for each postcard, let's say, to go, each
Right.
newsletter to go, you can actually spend half. So people for like 17, 18 cents can blanket the area, and they can pick and choose the courier routes as far as that's concerned. So
So you
that's
can
one
look
of
at
the
things like
tools.
zip codes, demographics,
It's
and
zip code, and literally in the zip code, I urge everybody to check that out. If you go to USPS and you type in every direct or mailing, you will actually
Awesome.
be able to understand it, and you can choose it and highlight it. And you can go looking in the map, and each one has a courier route, which means they go to that courier route anyways, the post office people. So they're just gonna blanket the area with your marketing stuff.
So those are probably the pieces that I get in the mail that
Says
that
postal
don't,
customer.
yes, and it doesn't have like maybe my personal name and
Correct.
address on it, because it's not. If you've ever gotten something, you're like, how did this get to me? Because there's no address on here.
Correct.
That's what she's talking about.
Correct. And it's people don't understand such a huge deal when you're doing your budget, right?
Right.
It makes a huge sense if you're sending 2,500 pieces times 70 cents versus 15, 17, 18 makes a huge difference. And again, pointed back to the point of you need to blanket, you need to market, you need to put your colors and your logo out there and your name so people can at least just dabble into it. And that itself takes some time in order for that to flourish. But one of the biggest tools, knowing in the printing and marketing, which is why you get that, and it's so important, it's so effective.
Right.
People still look at it, people still see it, and it subconsciously gets embedded
Right.
in there. So
Right. Well, they say it takes 7 touches, right, or 7 times of someone seeing your message before they start to remember who you are, or they decide, hey, I'm going to give this person a call. You know, it's psychology. So much of marketing is really that remembering, and you know, we talk a lot on this show about staying top of mind, and that's
Right.
another way of doing it, and sort of diversifying your budget and your strategy and your tactics. And so this is a really awesome tool for those of you who have not heard of it before. Basically, again, what it is you're going to send a print mail piece to specific carrier routes, and it's a lot cheaper than if you're purchasing a list and doing all these other fancy smancy things. If
Correct.
you don't have a list, this is a great way to start, in other words.
right, absolutely.
So I want to back up for a second. So I
Yeah.
really thought it was interesting how you were talking about personalizing your brand. So let's
Yes.
talk about that for a minute, because you are really, really good at that. And these are conversations that I have with people all the time when they're talking about branding. One of the first questions that I always ask them is, I'm like, how do we make this tie into you, right?
Right.
And I think more than ever, especially with how much things have changed and they continue to change, we're looking at marketing from personalization, right? When they talk about marketing trends and what's coming up, personalization seems to be article after article, show after show at the top of that list, because you know, people are really paying attention to things that matter to them more than ever, especially as we're inundated with messages. So talk to us a little bit about your branding journey with Maya's Healing Place, and how you created your logo and created this space, and how it matches who you are.
Right. Thank you so much. And I think that's one of the most important things. You know, we come, again, I work with a lot of designers and all these, you know, marketing companies, and it's wonderful. But I always go back to something that has worked very well for me, which is what is that energy that you want to put out? What is your why? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? What color is it? And that's what I usually tell people. Sit down and be creative. Like, go back to being 10 years old. And what is it that elevates, ignites you? Is it the blue? Is it the red color? Is it is a little bit of splash of yellow? And these little tiny details is what emanates your energy through it. So that's what I always done. So my specific marketing tool, and many people have told me otherwise, they were like, why don't you solidify it? Why does it always, why don't you put a specific, use an app that everything is specifically based on, almost, like a cookie cutter of things. And I'm like, you know what, that's wonderful. Not for my business. My business is about healing, about emotions, about being, having emotions all over the place, about being authentic every day. There's certain always, like when I do my videos, there are in my office or something outside, which is the two places that I will always be consistent with. I would always greet people a certain way. So these little consistencies, which are might be silly from a different perspective or from a different company, but for me, it's, okay, I'm here to love you, to heal you, to have you understand, to feel safe, to feel loved. And that's what I do as I convey my message throughout the marketing. So it's always the colors that I wanted. It's always the feeling that I wanted. I wanted to portray the energy of, like, all of us are human. We're going through stuff, including me. Let me show you what I've gone through so I can have you understand that I understand you. and give you the tools that you're able to use. So those are the messages, and a lot of people don't go there, right? They're going to the, what is the suggestion, what are the colors that should work, what is all healing, colors, all the healing places in the world, what do they use? I went what I felt with my soul, right? And my posts are very raw. And one of the biggest things is also getting feedback from people and going, how do you feel? Like, how do you like the post? And they were like, it is so unique and raw. It feels like you're not being a marketing company. It feels like you're not, involving all this stuff just to lure us in. It's just you. It's raw. And that's one of the first things when you see my notebook, what I did was like, I just want to be raw. I just want to be this vulnerable person that wants to help. And that's what I mean by understanding your energy. Like my favorite color is blue. My color is blue and yellow with white, with clarity. It's also a tree. To me, it's, a tree of to me means something completely different as far as, grounding, rooting, understanding all aspects of who we are. So a lot goes down to it. But one advice I would say, sit down and be a kid. And see what energy, and this can be any company. You can have a printing company, which I've done, still do. It could be an accounting company, for crying out loud, something so dry. It can be an insurance company. Sit there and what energy are you going to portray? Because that's what people buy and want to be with, instead of what it is that necessarily what the trend is of how, the things should work, right?
Right. And I think that's an awesome point. And I will let out a little secret. So Miss Ink, our logo is a star, and it's pink and black. And the reason that I chose that, or hot pink, I should say, and the reason that I chose that is because when I was a kid, my favorite color combination was hot pink and black. Like if I could just pair it together, outfit after outfit, those crazy jelly bracelets that we used to wear back in the 80s, like there was always hot pink and black. And so that's how I came with the color scheme for my logo. So I love that idea of kind of going back to your childhood and seeing what that can be, and also thinking of what speaks to you. What speaks to you, maybe something very simple, right? Some people, they want a fancy design, some people with a lot of intricacies, and some people, they just want a name, and maybe it's the font, and that's what speaks to you. And maybe it's a script, or it's a block, or something that you look at it and you're like, oh, okay, like that feels aligned with who I am and the message that I'm trying to portray. So I really appreciate you sharing that, because I think that's really smart. So all right, so we've talked a little bit about direct mail. Let's talk a little bit more about print and specifically publishing. So people today have the ability more than ever, it's easier than ever to publish your own blog, your own podcast, your own this, your own that. All the tools are so accessible. And like I mentioned earlier, when we first got started, Maya published her own book, which influenced me to publish my own book. So let's talk about that for a little bit. Sure. So kind of like, what was that journey of telling your story, which is really powerful, and deciding, you know what, instead of going to a publisher, I'm going to self-publish this and use it as it sort of doubled as a healing tool for you, but it's also a marketing piece, right?
100%.
So why don't we talk a little bit about that?
Thank you so much, and I appreciate it. I'm so proud of you. Your book is amazing, and that's how we met. Like, here's the book, and she read it, and it was wonderful, and I'm so happy for you. So you guys, yes. So Grenades as Lullabies is my book. It's a personal story. It's kind of like Anne Frank's story. But I always call it on steroids, because it's just, it's a perspective from a young child going through a Bosnian civil war. And it's not only a story, it's an inspiration. It's how you look at stuff, how you use all the stuff to heal. And to, like you said, to me, this was the last healing moment of kind of healing all of those insecurities and stuff that went with me as I grew up further in my life. And yes, it was such a hard thing because I wanted to share my story. And one of the reasons, and which I want to share with you guys, is because of my printing background. A lot of times when I was researching and publishing, let's use in a publishing company, a lot of their packages included not exactly necessarily what I needed, what anybody needs. What do I mean by that? Is that they would give us like, okay, we're going to give you an editing, but it's only going to be included certain amount of pages. That does me no good, because like I have, 200 pages if I can only cover 50, and then some ridiculous amount of money after that, right, per word, per page, or whatever that is. So that was very, very that was discouraging, because now you're looking to spend so much money and you're not even sure what's happening, right? So budgeting. So I realized, and as I researched, that was one of the first things why I decided to self-publish, and I'll tell you why. how easy it was at the end of the day. Number two, most of these publishers wanted to include a package of what they call marketing, which is like creating postcards, which I could have done for myself, and I knew that postcards didn't cost that much, as they. So I'm urging you guys to know, and I'm sorry, publishing companies, but it is what it is. It doesn't cost that much to get 1,000 postcards if you want to promote your stuff. It doesn't cost that much to get promotional items. That's what was included in all these packages.
Right. Yeah, because you're looking at these packages from these self-publishing companies,
right.
and you're like, wow, this sounds like a really good deal. They're gonna do my editing, but as Maya's saying, it's only so many words or so many pages.
Correct.
Or they're gonna do a book cover for me, but there's not gonna be any pictures involved in the book cover, so it's really only gonna be text. Or they're going to do a certain number of social media posts for me, but I still have to fix it and do it. Or they're going to do this printing package for me, and they're gonna give me these postcards, but I still have to figure out what to do with that. So I think that's it's so true, right? When you're looking at these different self-publishing, and I'm not knocking it by any sense of the imagination, but when you are looking at, I think the point is to just kind of look and see from an expanded view.
Correct.
Right? What is it that you're actually getting? Versus,
and I just urge everybody just to be a little more, and so many people have come to me because I've published a book, and I kind of gave them, and I'm like, listen, you look at it and see what it is, but I feel for the value that's been offered, it's just you're not getting that, meat, if you will, of just spreading the message of you're promoting your book. So that's one of the things. Another thing that really got me is that a lot of times these publishing companies would want to, they start owning your piece.
Yes.
And they would change it, or they wouldn't, have pretty much all the, royalties to it. And I felt like it's such anything you write comes from your heart. It's you. It's part of who you are. And I feel you should be that one that's really, promoting that and controlling that versus somebody else, because they're just, giving you the name that they're going to try to publish it or market it. So to me, that was another turnoff, where it's like, I really would like to keep the authenticity of my book exactly how it is, and me having the rights of what that is, right? So again, they will include a couple of copies. Those you can print those copies anywhere, right? Even, and I'll tell you, in self-publishing, they actually include it for you.
Yeah.
So the publishing companies really, I would say, need to be a little bit more, concerned about the writer, and I think that would really help them to grow their company, and the writers who are wanting to publish really need to look at different options like self-publishing. This is why I decided to self-publish, right? And we can go on the positive side why that worked out. I would say, as far as the editing is concerned, hire somebody.
Yes.
There's wonderful people that need work out there. They're incredibly talented, and they would do your work for a quarter of it and an amazing, and that's what I did. There's designers that they will design your cover like they did for me, okay? And for a quarter of a price, and they would really put their heart and soul into it. So go out there and you'll see that will be very valuable to spend the money on, but not go that route. So self-publishing, definitely the way to go.
Yeah, so we looked at, and again, because of Maya, I published my book earlier this year because we had a conversation. I'm like, that's so cool that you have the book. I kind of have this PDF version of mine. And she said, Missy, you could easily publish it. You just upload it to Amazon and that's it. And so there was a little bit more to it, but Amazon self-publishing, their KDP tools it's like mind-blowing what you actually get for that. And yes, it takes some work, and but they have tons of resources, right? They have a book cover creator, so if you wanted to just create something on your own very simply, you could. They have templates available. They have actually lists and names of people who can help you. So that's actually what I ended up doing. I ended up hiring somebody to do my cover and do my not my outline, but formatting, excuse me. So that, and they continue to change things to make things even easier and more helpful for you. Like, I want to say I read last week that you can upload your ebook version and it'll automatically format it for you for a print version, which is new, because until then you've had to do one print with the bleed sides and your margins and all that. And then your ebook version. And now they're saying, oh, forget that, we're going to make it even easier for you. So I think, the point is if you have something within you that you can use as and because the tool too is that you get something out of you, right? Like, you write this book and you don't have all these sort of roadblocks that you would in the normal publishing world. But you're able to really use it as well as a marketing tool, because when someone hears you're an author, it's amazing the opportunities that seem to come from that. So do you want to talk kind of a little bit about
Oh my gosh,
that?
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, self-publishing the way I did it with Amazon.com. Guys, if anybody has questions, Misty and I are here. We can guide you, but it's extremely helpful and they really make it easy for you and it's available and ready to go. Your royalties are coming in. So it's a really good, tool, and now even easier, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
As far as, yes, being an author has been a huge thing because people do have this different perspective of you as far as not only as a healing aspect of it, right, which I resonate so much with it. Everybody has a story, and you not only are you resonating with people and encouraging them to write their own story, you are also telling them it's easy, you can do it, and that you can do it. You'll be stunned, Misty, how much people just need that push to say you are good enough and you can do this. And once you do
Right.
this, it's a huge accomplishment that opens so many doors in a healing aspect, in an
Yes.
innovation aspect to do it. And I knew what it did for me, right? I cried for 3 days because it was tears of joy. Like, I did this. This was in my bucket list, right, for a long
Right.
time. And the sense of accomplishment does so much for you, and it's so easily accessible. So as an author, I've been approached with a lot of different opportunities, like you mentioned, a lot of different radio shows. As a matter of fact, I have my own right now because of that, because to promote my story, to encourage people to write, to encourage people to publish, and to make it known for others. Because if we don't talk about our stories, who will?
Right.
And how are we going to change the world if it's not by our stories?
Yeah.
So,
I love that.
yes.
I love that. So, we've talked so much today. If you're just joining in, thank you, by the way. Checking in on my watch party. I see Mitch is a loyal viewer. Hi, Mitch Panther. Thank you for always being here. He's a super loyal viewer. So we talked about a little bit about direct mail and how that's easier than people think it is in terms of print. We talked about publishing your own book and how that's easier than
Right.
people might think it is.
Correct.
And there's more tools available for you to do. What are some other tools that you would say in the publishing world that an average small business owner should really be looking into these days?
Good. And so this is one of the things where I think, budgeting comes into play, and it's very actually not as expensive as anybody thinks. Like putting tiny small ads on social media, which will cost you anywhere for 20, 30 bucks when it's, I don't know if you guys notice, sometimes, on Facebook or Instagram, it says sponsored, right?
Right.
So you can do that. Anybody can do that. So just, spending a few bucks, targeting an area. Targeting is a huge thing, again, in marketing, right? Who's going to want to read my book, or who's going to want to be, so you want to target your athletes. Maybe you want to go around University of Miami. So having a little bit of that knowledge. But as far as publishing tools, Amazon has it. You can actually have a campaign for very inexpensively to run it where if anybody types in a specific code word,
Right.
like mine is inspirational books about war. Yours can be athletes, right? Mental health with athletes.
Right.
So as they type in, Amazon promotes that, right? Same thing that happens with Google, also social media. You can actually type in and spend a very few, very, very, affordable amount of time and money so if anybody is looking for that and resonate with the energy that you're putting out there, that can actually come across your book. And that's how I've been able to promote very, inexpensively, but also very, I would say I was being more smart than working harder, right?
Right.
In that tool. There's a lot of tools available that get spread out to different people. And again, you have to look at it as, if I just reach one person today more than yesterday, that's a win. Because you don't know what that other person, who they're gonna talk to, how they're gonna spread that message. So you have to be consistent, you have to be patient,
Yes.
and you have to just follow your course without being attached to a some kind of a end result. Because then the ego is always gonna wanna reevaluate that. Be like, well, yeah, I didn't do too many today. So
Right.
there's tools with Google, with Amazon, with social media that you can do, and if you look at it, promote your site. And really works well. I've gotten more followers that way. I've gotten more people to buy, 2 or 3 people more to buy the book that week or that month than I did. And I feel just by you building your brand slowly
Right.
makes a huge difference than trying to just overtake it and not maybe necessarily come on as genuine and as grounded. I think that's important. Those roots are important.
Right.
So lots of tools out there really that you can use. And then again, marketing in general with promotional items and things like that really takes it to another level. Again, inexpensive. Talk to me. I'll point you in the right direction. You don't have to pay an arm and a leg for this. It's just being more resourceful, which why I wanted to do this with you today, to
Right.
give people more
Right.
knowledge.
So let's talk about that. So go ahead and tell people, how can they reach you if they do have questions about publishing, about
Right.
printing, about some of these branding things that we talked about. How can they reach you?
Wonderful. Yeah. So you can definitely, my website is mayasplace.net. The phone number is there. Also, my social media is at Maya's Healing Place. It's also on Facebook and Instagram. Also, my phone number is all over. It directly goes to me. You can always reach me, DM me. I do take the time to answer. It's one of my biggest things. Also busy. I always tell people I will get back to you. And I do. So please check it out. I post a lot of videos, a lot of different things. If you have a specific question, you can send me an email as well. It's maya@mayasplace.net. I will be more than happy to guide everybody, whatever your needs are and whatever you need to do. A lot of knowledge is there. Like I said, let my experience work for you. I'm happy to share.
Yeah, I thank you. I want to thank you for your time and for being
course.
here, because I think a lot of people do wonder things about, how else can I, get business, right? Watch my budget, but also make sure that what I'm putting out there is personal to me.
Right.
And so we all have messages to share, and we all have goals and things that we're working towards, and sort of making that connection between business and making it more personal, I think, is again more important than ever. And so again, I want to thank you for spending your time here and for giving us some valuable tips. I really love the idea of, if you're confused about your branding, or your logo, just think back to who you were as a kid and the things that got you excited, and sort of start from there, because it's pretty certain that those things are still going to excite you. And when we're talking about energy, people can feel when you're passionate about something versus when you just do something because you think it's the right thing to do, but it's not really aligned with who you are and your message, right? So I want to thank you again so much for being here and for taking the time. Again, mayasplace.net or maya@mayashealingplace.net is how you can reach her.
Right.
And we will see you next week. I have another really awesome guest coming on to talk about how he created a huge business for himself, starting with YouTube and podcasting. So that's going to be a really awesome episode. So thank you again, Maya, for being here. And I want to wish everyone an awesome week. If there's anything else that you'd like us to talk about here on Marketing Monday, again, I'm Misty Buck with Miss Inc. Digital Marketing. If there's anything else that you want us to talk about, just put it in the comments, and I will check those out and we'll take the suggestions. So thank you so much, and have a beautiful week, everybody.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.